What's up, Wrestling Verse family? Welcome back to the channel, and you need to drop everything and pay attention because what I'm about to tell you is one of the most shocking and brutal moments in recent WWE history. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications right now because this is absolutely insane. Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed just turned on Paul Heyman in a vicious, unprovoked attack that has left the legendary advocate in critical condition. This wasn't just a beatdown. This was an assault that has sent shockwaves through the entire WWE universe and could have career-ending implications for one of the most iconic figures in wrestling. The attack was savage, it was personal, and it has changed everything. So stick with me because we're breaking down exactly what happened, why these two monsters turned on Heyman, and what this means for WWE going forward. This is massive. Let's go. Alright, Wrestling Verse family. Let me set the stage for this absolutely brutal and shocking attack. Paul Heyman has been one of WWE's most prominent figures for decades. As a manager, advocate, and mastermind, Heyman has guided some of the biggest stars in wrestling history. His intelligence, his mic skills, and his ability to manipulate situations make him invaluable. Recently, Heyman had been working behind the scenes with several superstars, including Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed. After Adam Pearce removed both men from the Battle Royal, Heyman had been advocating for them, trying to get them opportunities, and positioning himself as their voice in WWE management. Everything seemed normal until tonight. Tonight on SmackDown, Paul Heyman called Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed to meet him backstage. He said he had important news about their futures and opportunities he had secured for them. Both men arrived at the designated meeting spot, and what started as a normal business meeting quickly turned into an absolute nightmare. Heyman started talking about his plans for them, about how he could elevate their careers, about how with his guidance they could become champions. He was in full advocate mode, using all his legendary persuasion skills. But something was off. The look in Bron's eyes, the tension in Bronson's body language, something was about to happen. Without warning, Bron Breakker struck first. He grabbed Paul Heyman and threw him violently into the concrete wall. The sickening sound of impact echoed through the backstage area. Heyman crumpled to the ground, clearly stunned and in pain. But the attack was just beginning. Bronson Reed joined in immediately. These two massive, powerful superstars started systematically destroying Paul Heyman. Reed grabbed Heyman and delivered a devastating slam onto an equipment crate. The crate shattered under the impact, and Heyman's body went limp. This was no longer a wrestling angle, this felt disturbingly real. Bron wasn't done. He grabbed Heyman again and delivered another brutal assault, slamming him into production equipment, into walls, into anything nearby. The violence was relentless, and Heyman, who is not a wrestler and has no way to defend himself, was completely helpless. The beating was difficult to watch. Bronson Reed then positioned Heyman against the wall and delivered multiple devastating strikes. Each blow landed with sickening impact. Heyman was bleeding, he was barely conscious, and still they continued. This wasn't about sending a message anymore, this was about inflicting maximum damage. The most shocking moment came when Bronson Reed positioned the unconscious Paul Heyman on the floor and climbed onto a nearby platform. The crowd watching on screens in the arena realized what was about to happen. Reed was setting up for his devastating tsunami splash, but not in a ring, on concrete. Reed leapt off the platform and came crashing down on Paul Heyman with all his massive weight. The tsunami on the concrete floor was one of the most brutal things we've ever seen in WWE. The sound was horrifying, and Heyman's body didn't move after impact. This was beyond wrestling. This was an assault. Bron and Bronson stood over the motionless body of Paul Heyman with no remorse, no emotion, just cold satisfaction. They had just destroyed one of the most iconic figures in wrestling history. Security and medical personnel rushed to the scene, but the damage was done. Heyman was in critical condition. Medical staff immediately called for an ambulance as they frantically worked to stabilize Paul Heyman. He wasn't moving, he wasn't responsive, and the concern on everyone's faces showed how serious this was. Heyman was carefully placed on a stretcher with extreme caution, his neck stabilized, and rushed to a waiting ambulance. The backstage area was in complete chaos. Wrestlers came out of their locker rooms to see what happened. Some were in shock, others were demanding security take action. Everyone was talking about the brutality they had just witnessed. WWE officials were scrambling to assess the situation and figure out what to do next. Now let's talk about why Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed did this. The most obvious question is, why would they attack Paul Heyman, someone who was trying to help them? The answer reveals a darker motivation. Both men made it clear through their actions that they don't need anyone's help, they don't want to be managed, and they certainly don't want Paul Heyman speaking for them. Bron Breakker comes from the legendary Steiner family. He has wrestling royalty in his blood, and his pride wouldn't allow him to be seen as someone who needs an advocate. The idea that Paul Heyman thought he could control Bron or use him as a pawn was insulting. Tonight, Bron made it brutally clear that he answers to no one. Bronson Reed has been on a mission of destruction for months. He's a force of nature who destroys everything in his path. Having Paul Heyman try to guide his career or position himself as Reed's advocate went against everything Bronson represents. Reed is chaos, he is violence, and he doesn't follow anyone's plans but his own. There's also the possibility that this was premeditated. Maybe Bron and Bronson planned this attack from the beginning. Maybe they used Heyman's desire to manage them as a way to get close before striking. The calculated nature of the assault suggests this wasn't a spontaneous decision but a deliberate execution. The WWE Universe's reaction has been absolutely explosive. Social media has been flooded with shock, horror, and disbelief. Fans cannot believe what they just witnessed. Paul Heyman is a beloved figure despite playing villainous roles, and seeing him attacked this viciously has created genuine concern and anger. Many fans are calling for immediate consequences. They want Bron and Bronson arrested, fired, banned from WWE. The attack crossed every line, and fans believe there should be serious repercussions. The violent nature of the assault has created real heat, the kind that makes people genuinely angry at the perpetrators. Other fans, while shocked, recognize this as incredible storytelling. They acknowledge the brutality but appreciate that WWE created a moment that feels consequential and important. When wrestling makes you feel genuine emotion, even if it's horror or disgust, it's doing its job effectively. Fellow WWE superstars have been reacting with shock and concern. Many have posted messages hoping Paul Heyman recovers quickly. Some have expressed anger at Bron and Bronson, promising there will be consequences. The locker room seems unified in their concern for Heyman and their condemnation of the attack. Roman Reigns' reaction will be crucial. Paul Heyman has been Roman's special counsel, his wise man, his closest advisor for years. When the tribal chief finds out what happened to Heyman, his response will be volcanic. Bron and Bronson just made enemies with the most powerful man in WWE. The bloodline as a whole will want revenge. Solo Sikoa and the entire faction will be out for blood. Attacking Paul Heyman is attacking the bloodline's brain trust, their strategist, their voice. This assault will not go unanswered, and the retaliation will be severe. Let's talk about what this means for Paul Heyman personally. This attack could legitimately write him off television for an extended period. Heyman is not a young man, and taking an attack of this magnitude, especially the tsunami on concrete, could have serious consequences. WWE might use this to give Heyman time off while building anticipation for his return. When Heyman does return, the emotional impact will be significant. Seeing him return from such a vicious attack will be powerful. His first promo back will be must-see television. Whether he's seeking revenge, promising retribution, or warning Bron and Bronson about what's coming, Heyman's words will carry weight. For Bron Breakker, this attack cements his status as one of WWE's most dangerous heels. He's shown he's willing to cross any line, hurt anyone, and do whatever it takes. That ruthlessness makes him a credible threat to everyone on the roster. Nobody is safe from Bron Breakker. For Bronson Reed, this attack continues his path of destruction. He's proven once again that he's a monster who cares about nothing but causing pain. The tsunami on concrete will be replayed for years as one of the most brutal moves ever executed. Reed has become must-see television because of moments like this. The alliance between Bron and Bronson is now cemented. They worked together to destroy Heyman, and that shared act of violence bonds them. Are they forming a faction? Are they just temporary allies with a common goal? Either way, two monsters working together makes them exponentially more dangerous. The storytelling possibilities moving forward are incredible. Roman Reigns will want revenge for Heyman. Other superstars who respected Heyman will want justice. Bron and Bronson will have targets on their backs from multiple directions. The faction warfare and individual feuds that spin out of this moment could fuel months of programming. From a business perspective, this creates must-see television. Fans will tune in next week to see the fallout. They'll want medical updates on Heyman. They'll want to see Roman's response. They'll want to know if there are consequences for Bron and Bronson. One moment has created multiple storylines and questions. The production quality of this segment was intense. The camera work captured the brutality without being gratuitous. The sound design made every impact feel real. The reactions from backstage personnel added authenticity. WWE's production team created a segment that felt genuinely shocking and important. This also demonstrates WWE's willingness to create edgy, controversial content. While staying within boundaries and not showing excessive blood or gore, they still created a segment that feels dangerous and consequential. That balance is difficult to achieve but essential for creating compelling television. The moral questions raised by this attack are interesting too. Bron and Bronson are villains, but they're also positioned as rebellious anti-heroes who reject authority and management. Some fans might secretly admire their independence even while condemning their methods. That moral complexity makes for richer storytelling. What happens next is crucial. Does WWE suspend or fine Bron and Bronson? Do they press charges? Does Roman handle this personally? Do Bron and Bronson face consequences or do they get rewarded with opportunities because negative attention is still attention? How WWE handles the aftermath will determine if this moment leads to great storytelling or disappoints fans. The historical significance cannot be overlooked. Paul Heyman has been in wrestling for over 3 decades. He's managed legends, built promotions, and created moments that defined eras. Having him be the victim of such a brutal attack is shocking precisely because of his legendary status. This isn't just any manager being attacked, this is Paul Heyman. Looking ahead, the eventual payback will be satisfying. Whether it's Roman destroying Bron and Bronson personally, or other superstars getting revenge on Heyman's behalf, the audience is now invested in seeing justice served. That anticipation and desire for payoff keeps fans engaged week after week. Alright, Wrestling vs. Family, that's the complete breakdown of Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed's brutal attack on Paul Heyman that left him in critical condition. This is a moment that changes everything and will have ramifications for months to come. Now I need to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Were you shocked by this attack? What should happen to Bron and Bronson? How will Roman Reigns respond? Let's discuss. If you want to stay updated on every development in this explosive storyline, smash that like button. It helps us reach more wrestling fans. And if you're not subscribed to Wrestling vs. CC, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications right now. Share this video with your wrestling friends so everyone knows what happened to Paul Heyman. This is going to be one of the biggest stories in WWE for weeks to come. Thank you so much for watching Wrestling vs. Family. This is just the beginning of what promises to be an incredible and intense storyline. Until next time, stay shocked, stay engaged, and keep being the best wrestling fans in the world. Peace.